We would like to acknowledge that this podcast was recorded, produced, and created within the territory of Mi'kma'ki, the unceded ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq. Our relationship and our privilege to live on this territory was agreed upon in the Peace and Friendship Treaties of 1752. Because of this treaty relationship, it is to be acknowledged that we are all treaty people and have a responsibility to respect this territory.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to When Ducks Leave the Pond, the podcast where Mount Allison alumni share their stories of where life has taken them and how their time on campus shaped that journey. Today's guest is a brand new graduate. We thought we'd do something a bit different, kind of a special edition, because we have a brand new class, the class of 2025, graduating in just a week. So we thought we'd choose one of these brand new alumni and bring them on. So today, it's really my pleasure to welcome Devin LaPointe. Devin LaPointe is what we would always refer to as a mature student. I think these days we would refer to him as a non-traditional student. Studies psychology, and is someone whose story reminds us that it's kind of never too late to chase that dream and to kind of go out there and do the things that you were meant to do. So Devin is also a first-generation university student who returned to school with purpose and perspective and a deep commitment to learning. And even more importantly, he's a native of the North Shore of New Brunswick, Restigouche East, where I'm from, and he and his family now live in Moncton. However, I must disclose that Devin and I share many, many people in common. In fact, it's kind of like the Estabrooks family in Sackville. If you're from the North Shore, the Harkwells and the LaPointes, there's no way you don't know them, right?
Yep.
So I am a dear friend to many people in Devin's family, although really this is the first time we've had a long conversation. Welcome, Devin.
Thank you.
Listen, let's start from the top. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And let's start with your journey. What motivated you to return to school as an older, non-traditional student and pursue psychology?
Yeah, so I was working for a big corporation for quite some time, about 14 years or so that I worked with them. And then when COVID kind of hit, they outsourced a lot of their work and kind of gave me the option of, continue working under this outsourced company. And at that point, I decided it was time to go my own way. I'd been always kind of thinking that if I could do it all again, right, I'd go to university. So right out of high school, I had like a 2-year MBCC diploma. So I just thought it was a perfect opportunity to come back and try something different.
Oh, good for you. Now, as a first-generation university student, what does crossing that finish line mean to you?
Well, it's pretty awesome, just in terms of being able to have accomplished something you set out. Like, it's not easy for anybody to do something like this, whether you're fresh out of high school or you've got some experience under your belt in the world. So it means a lot just to kind of set out to accomplish a goal and get there. It's also kind of like one of the main steps. I really want to get into clinical psychology, and so it's the first step in that process, right? It's a big first step, but it's the first step.
Listen, you came back to school, after leaving college, 14 years?
I would have graduated in, 2005, so,
yeah,
16 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you didn't just come back and walk into class. You knocked this thing out of the park. So let's do a little bragging here.
I did all right.
So, so you're graduating kind of with really, really good marks. Oh, he's shrugging now, but trust me, I know. And from day one, you were just always knocking it out of the park. What are some of the biggest challenges? Now, you also commuted in from
Yep.
Moncton. You have children, you have a partner.
Mm-hmm.
How old are your children now?
Yeah, so one's turning 8, the other's turning 10. The other one is 10, then 12 and 17, turning 18. So.
Wow. And so that big change for them. What was the biggest challenge you faced academically?
getting back into the swing of things was a little tough, right? You're used to working your, 8 hours, going home, unless there's some kind of big project going on or something. You'd kind of have your home time to yourself. So just putting in the extra time, that was definitely the biggest challenge, because I feel like being a mature student, there's some benefits there. You've got some extra life experience. You kind of know what's kind of expected out in the world and stuff like that. So I feel like that's an advantage. But then there's definitely some advantages to the kind of up and coming, just out of school folks, because they don't necessarily have all the same commitments. They're not up keeping a house, or, may or may not be doing their own like stuff around the house and auto work and stuff like that.
That's right. Yeah.
And yeah, raising kids is definitely a challenge. There's a big time commitment.
A lot of expectations for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things you did while you were at Mount A is you took part in the alumni mentorship program, where we connect first-gen students with alumni who have had similar experiences to just kind of mentor through the 4 years. And you've done it twice, I believe.
Yep. Yeah.
Can you tell us about those experiences?
Yeah.
What that program was like and what it meant to you in your trajectory?
Yeah, so I joined that second year and third year, I believe, and it really helped me out because, the kind of obvious things for university is go in, do the work, get the good grades, and kind of do what's required of you. But the not so obvious stuff is the career path, or just the academic pathway, as to, where you want to go with it and what path you need to take to achieve it. So my first year doing that was with a local...
Krista Steves.
Yeah, Krista Steves. And I'm trying to think. I think she's a psychoanalyst.
That's right. Yeah, she works right out of Sackville. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was great talking with her because it gave me kind of the, my main focus is clinical psychology, but there's other pathways to get there. Also gave me the idea of kind of looking around at the industry and kind of getting myself situated into what to expect. And also, I kind of, again, that it's just there's not just one path to getting there. So that really helped. She took a bit of an indirect route getting there herself, so I got to learn all about that. And it was just great talking to her. We always have good discussions. We met again this year just to kind of catch up. So
oh, that's great.
It's she was great. And then I met with Mandy as well.
That's
Mandy
right,
LaPointe.
Mandy LaCoque. So for anyone on the North Shore listening, you've got the whole trifecta here of North Shore folks talking, because of course Dr. Mandy LaCoque is originally from Dalhousie. The three of us all graduated from the same high school, and she's now in Montreal doing her research and her work. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so she's a postdoc at the University of Montreal, and they both kind of brought unique elements to the table as far as my kind of journey went. So Krista was like a lot more the business side, looking at kind of how to make that work. And Mandy was a lot more the technical, hands-on type stuff in terms of helping me with the writing, taking a look at... it was actually kind of great because she was like, we should get your CV done, as we were kind of coming up with things to do, right? And so I had that done in advance of getting to fourth year when you really need to kind of have it done. And that was awesome because first term, fourth year doing an honors is very, very heavy.
It certainly is. It's especially in psychology, it's such a busy department. So many people major and minor in it, right?
Yeah, so it's first term, very busy. So anything that I had done ahead of time was super beneficial to me. So it was great because she's helped me out with papers. We've kept in touch. Applying for grants and stuff like that. If I wanted to kind of reach out with her and get a kind of a cold eyes review on it, she'd be more than happy to do that. So really happy to have made those two connections and feel very grateful for the program.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's great to hear. I know that the Alumni Mentorship Program is something we're really proud of. And it is also one of the easiest programs to do because when we call on alumni to match up with some of our students, no one ever says no. And it just is turned into kind of one of our premier programs. We're really proud of it. And I think it's another great reason why people should can choose to come here because of that opportunity. So going to maybe more personal now, your mother, who passed away in 22, was a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. And I know that she was always incredibly proud of her children. How does her memory, how does Gloria's memory influence and support you today and through your journey at Mount A?
Yeah, so my mom was always my biggest supporter. Definitely no doubts there.
No doubt about it, yeah.
Always doing stuff in the community and stuff like that to kind of help her boys out. And so, I think of her often, and I often kind of wonder what she would think about what I was doing now. So it's kind of sad that you don't have that, you can't call her up and talk anymore. She would call me up quite often, actually. She was always good with that. So I think she'd be very proud and happy, and it'd just be nice to have that connection still, right? So
yeah.
Yep.
As you know, my youngest daughter is graduating also in psychology this year. We'll be on stage there with you on Monday, and we left the North Shore when she was 5 years old, and she still talks about your mom. She adored Gloria. Gloria had a special gift with young children, for sure. So, Devin, I also wanted to ask you, was there a moment during your time at Mount A, especially in those early years, which, still had a lot of COVID things happening, but was there a moment during your time at Mount Allison where you felt like you really belonged, like you were on the right path? Was there that kind of moment, or just something that grew?
I think it more kind of grew for me, because you got to think too, mature student off campus, it's not quite as easy to make the same kind of connections. You're not as involved in the community here as some of the other students that are staying right on campus and very much living here. So it's a little harder for me to kind of make some of those connections. So the times I valued the most were probably the Science Atlantic conferences. So I was able to go to one last year, and I just actually came back from one this past weekend. So last year was Halifax, and this year was Fredericton. And those are the times where you get to really hang out with your cohort, get a little kind of one-on-one time with the professors outside of academia. Well, it's still academia, but it's a little more relaxed. Those are kind of the times I valued the most in terms of feeling a bit more part of the community, being like I said, a mature student off campus. Those are the best times for me. I enjoy them the most.
How did you've spoken a bit about what it was like for you, kind of being in a classroom with a younger cohort? How did the other students react to you in class? Did you feel like they spoke to you differently, or that you were regarded, as, well, there's Devin, he knows everything?
Well, that would be wrong. I'm pretty vocal in class, and I ask a lot of questions, and I've never been one to, maybe inherited that right from mom, but I've never been one to not speak up. So I think a lot of them kind of knew me as asking those questions and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It's funny because you don't necessarily always know how people perceive you, right?
Yeah.
And then second year or third year, somebody was like, "Oh, you're like the psychology mascot," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" You know what I mean? So but just I don't quite look the same as everybody else. I got the big old beard going. I look a little bit more like Dr. Claxton Oldfield than anybody else, right? So always interesting. I always had lots of life things to tell them, whether they wanted to hear it or not. And so, sometimes that went well and sometimes it didn't. It just depended. But I don't know. I was always around to talk and chit chat with folks and give my own thoughts and view on things. And I think that went okay.
Well, I'm sure it went okay. I have no doubt. So you spoke a bit about the things that you were discussing with your mentor, Krista Steves, about career plans and, doing a CV with Mandy, all those things. everyone's dying to know, like, what's next, Devin? What's
Oh,
the next step?
Yeah, so right now I'm on the waiting list for a clinical PsyD program for University of Moncton.
Okay.
So that was the only university I applied to this year because I've very much got roots set in Moncton.
Yeah.
So if that comes out, great. Well, then great. I'll start in the fall, but that's not a guarantee, right? So chances are I'll be applying next year again. And then next year I'll broaden my horizons a little bit in terms of applying for some counseling type programs as well. There's quite a few of those that are online and just different options. But right now the main focus is really just kind of fleshing out that CV in terms of psychology type experience. I plan on continuing. So I did my honors thesis on the effects of danger cues on attention. And so we wanted...
tell me about that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah. So it was really just about if we put a kind of like a social distractor danger cue on like a change detection task or something like that, how much would it impact attention? So just does it take longer to do the task, things of that nature. And so we were planning on 2 experiments for that. We really only were able to finish the first one, and we started the second one, but I didn't include it in the thesis writing. So I'll be continuing work on that during the summer. And so we're picking up some physiological measures as well to try and see, because some of those are quite sensitive in terms of physiological responses to kind of acute stressors. And then also just shown to have a history, because we also include, we also look at past history of trauma in with that as well. So it's an indicator of acute stress as well as trauma history and exposure to things of that nature. So yeah.
Who was the professor you did this with?
Oh yeah. So my honor supervisor is Dr. Mitchell LaPointe.
Yeah.
And my second reader was Dr. Lisa Dawn Hamilton, but she played a little bit more active part in it because the physiological measure, that's kind of her ball game, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So it was really great, actually.
Yeah.
Getting to work with multiple professors. And I did the ISRG last summer, which is kind of where that all kind of got started. So it was really fun meeting with them. Interesting when you're kind of working and bouncing ideas off of multiple people, because sometimes it's really great for coming up with a really strong product, and sometimes it's like, oh, one person saying one thing, the other person saying the other thing, we got to work through this kind of deal. So it's challenging and beneficial all at the same time.
Yeah, like all good research, I guess.
Yeah.
In 20 years, what does that look like professionally for you? What's the goal? Like, what would you love to be doing at the end of the academics?
Yeah, so I have always planned to have kind of like a private clinical practice. Haven't really focused specifically on my niche yet, but I definitely want to be doing something like that. So as I mentioned, I worked in like a corporate job for quite some time. And the focus in those corporate jobs is usually bottom line, making money, stuff like that. And it just, after a while, it stops it never really resonated with me that much, right? My focus was always more on like doing a good job and supporting individuals, because I was always in a supporting role. So that's kind of the focus for me, is to be able to help folks out with their challenges and just improve their quality of life. So that's kind of my biggest goal, but it's clinical in nature, preferably private, but however I can get it, really.
That's fantastic. And it's interesting too, because I can't remember what the statistic is, but for clinical psychologists, it is a high percentage of the folks who work in there identify as female. So can you talk a bit about that, about how, I guess what I'm trying to get to is how you see yourself within that profession.
Yeah, sure. So I've got a bit of a niche there because, being male, I'll probably be able to resonate a little bit better with male clientele, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then being mature, it's possibly a little bit easier for some older clients to be able to talk to me in a way and then receive feedback or have those discussions. Because if you picture yourself as a 30-year-old going to therapy, and you've got, someone who's 27 or a 40 or 50-year-old going to therapy, and you're talking to somebody who's, freshly 30 or something like that, there could be some pushback there. And I've heard of those kinds of things. So I think it's good. It's beneficial for me. I'll be a bit of the minority in that respect, but not in a bad way. In
exactly.
Any shape or form. It's just a different, probably a different, I don't know if it's the right word, but like a different market that I'll be better suited to help, I guess. Yeah.
And when you decided to be, how long ago had the thought of becoming a clinical psychologist you kind of knew that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I mean, the last 3 to 4 years that I was working in my previous job, I was kind of starting to look for something else, thinking about other things. And that's kind of when the seed kind of took root. So, it's definitely some mental health struggles in my own family.
Yeah.
I've been to therapy myself. I enjoy therapy, and I find it super beneficial. So just from going through that experience is what really got my mind kind of cycling on the idea. And I've just always, it's so cliche, but I've always liked helping people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, just feel like a natural fit. Yep.
Yeah, you definitely inherited that from both your parents. So finally, Devin, do you have advice that you would offer someone out there who might be first generation, who might be a mature student, and who's thinking about taking that leap and starting a degree somewhere?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the alumni mentorship program was so beneficial for me that I just believe that you need to kind of take advantage of any programs that the university has to offer, because there's so much that's kind of expected and communicated, but then so much more that you have to kind of search for. So it always helps to have the end in mind when you're taking on something, especially if you're dedicating a significant amount of time and resources to it. So kind of start with the end in mind, and then take everything you can get in terms of benefits.
Yeah.
And then, so that's for kind of the mature first gen students. The other thing is, being first gen is tough because you don't know what you don't know, and you can't look for what you don't know. So my dad was never an academic, right? Didn't finish high school, worked most of his life. And so you just kind of try to find that advice where you can get it. But even for folks just starting out, it's such an immense pressure to know what you're going to do and just go with it and make the decisions. It's easy for me to come here and say, this is what I want to do because I've lived a bit. So as much as I say it's important to start with a plan and know the end, don't be scared to change course and kind of figure it out as you go, and it's very easy to feel extremely pressured when you feel the pressure of needing to make those decisions. And I think some of that just comes with time, and people have to be patient with themselves, gives them the time to kind of figure it out as they go.
Yeah. And certainly Mount Allison, we need to give a shout out to the first generation office, which has, 1 to 2 people, but who work very, very hard to ensure that first generation students, like you said, who have barriers that no one can see, but even the language, right? The words that we use in a post-secondary setting are a lot of people don't know what that a term would mean, and that can be really off-putting. But I think with hopefully the right resources at a place like Mount A, a mature student like yourself, and you're obviously, they say the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and you are. So I just want to tell you how incredibly proud we are of you, Devin. And I say that as the alumni director, welcoming the new class of 2025 into the alumni fold, but also as someone who has had a long relationship with many members of your family as friends, and from the entire North Shore. On est vraiment fiers. We're really proud of you, Devin.
Thank you very much.
And have fun on Monday, Convocation Day. We'll see you then.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
A sincere thank you to the executive producer and director of our podcast, Kay, who is the quadrant intern at the Alumni Engagement Office. A sincere thank you to them, and especially to the fine folks at CHMA FM Radio who have made all of this possible by allowing us to use their facilities here on campus.
Mount Allison strives to be a safe, respectful, and welcoming place for people of all genders, diverse sexualities, gender identities, and gender expressions through education, programming, support, and advocacy. We prioritized upholding, maintaining, and honoring that environment during the creation of this podcast.